Chapter 4. Alma. Arturo started work a few days after we arrived. Before we came, he had arranged a job at a mushroom farm just over the state line in Pennsylvania. It was the only company near Maribel's school that had been willing to sponsor our visas. "How was it?" I asked, running to meet him at the door when he came home. He had dirt under his fingernails and smelled like rotten vegetables. I pinched my nose. "Maybe you should take a shower before you tell me." But he didn't laugh. He walked past me and sat on one of the chairs by the table. "How was it?" he said. "Well, I stood in a warehouse for 10 hours and picked mushrooms out of the dirt." "So it was great." Arturo pushed his chin to one side, cracking his neck. "Sorry," I said, sitting across from him. He wanted to be serious, so I would be serious. "The mushrooms grow inside the building?" He nodded. "In boxes. They're stacked on top of each other with just enough space in between for us to fit our hands in. Everything is controlled. The ventilation, the humidity, and they keep it dark." "You work in the dark?" "It doesn't matter to the mushrooms whether there's light." "But don't you need to see what you're doing?" "I can feel when I found one. Then I have to snap the stem, brush off the dirt, and toss in the collection bin. Pero tan rápido. We have quotas to make." "But in the dark?" I asked again. I tried to imagine him standing in the dark all day. What kind of conditions were those? "It's mindless," he said. "Do they know about your experience? You could be a manager there." "No, I couldn't." "Tell them that in Mexico you own the construction business." "They're not going to care about that." "But you could do more than pull mushrooms in the dark." "We knew this was going to be the job, Alma." "Who knew? I didn't know." "I told you." "You told me you'd be working at a mushroom farm, but I didn't think you'd be doing this." "Well, this is what I'm doing." Why don't you want to tell them about your qualifications?" "I'm not going to make waves, Alma. I'm happy just to have a job." "I know, but please," Arturo snapped. I felt my chest cave slightly, wounded by his tone. I'm sorry," he said. "I'm just tired." "Let me get you a drink," I said, standing up, pulling a glass from the cabinet, filling it with water. He took it greedily. "When was the last time you drank something?" I asked. "Before I left this morning." "You didn't drink anything else all day?" "There wasn't time." "Did you eat?" Arturo shook his head. "No one eats." I was appalled, though I didn't want to say so. What kind of place required a man to work all day without being allowed to eat or drink? There had to be rules, didn't there? This was America, after all. I couldn't help but think of how in Pátzcuaro Arturo used to come home at midday and sit at the kitchen table, eating the lunch I spent much of the morning preparing for him. Soft tortillas I had ground from the nixtamal wrapped in a dish towel to keep them warm, a plate of shredded chicken or pork, bowls of cute papaya and mango topped with coconut juice or cojita cheese. On Fridays, we would eat vanilla ice cream that I spooned into dishes the size of small cupped hands, or pan dulce that I baked, the sunlight melting through the window, the smell of wood and warm air. And now this? This was where I had brought him? To a windowless building where he stood in one place all day, sifting through dirt without eating or drinking or seeing the sun? The thought of it cut through me, and guilt once again reared its head. "I'll make you something to eat," I said, at my back while I unwrapped a hot dog from its plastic package. Arturo asked, "How was she today?" "Did you hear from the school?" "They didn't call," I said. I didn't need to look at him to know he was disappointed. Both of us were waiting. We had done all the required things, submitted immunization reports, showed proof of residence, filled out forms, and now we were ready for the next step. Word that Maribel had been approved to start school. I dropped the hot dog into a pot of water. I could hear Arturo behind me, working through his thoughts, trying to box his frustration. After all these years, I could interpret his various silences. I knew he didn't want to say any more about it. I didn't want him to either. Finally, "She's in the bedroom?" he asked. "She's resting," I said. "The hot dog will be ready soon," I added as if it were some sort of consolation. But when Arturo didn't say anything, I felt acutely the meagerness of it, the insufficiency. We wanted more. We wanted what we had come for. And then, 5 days later, it seemed like we would get it. "I'm sorry it's taking us so long to get her enrolled," the translator from the district said when she called. Her name was Phyllis. But when I tried to repeat it, it came out, "Felix?" "Phyllis," she said. "Phyllis." I tried again. Through the coordination between my tongue and teeth and lips felt clumsy and strange. "Do you speak English?" she asked. When I confessed with some embarrassment that I didn't, she went on in Spanish. "It's okay. That's the case with the majority of the families I work with, which is why you get me. Think of me as your conduit to the school. Anytime you need to communicate with them, call me, and I'll get them the message. And if they need to communicate something to you, it's the same thing. I'll get you the message." So this is the doorway, I thought, between us and the rest of the country. I was grateful to have it, but of course the limitations were clear. We couldn't walk through the door without someone to guide us through the other side. Phyllis went on, explaining how A.I. DuPont had a terrific bilingual school psychologist, Adria Suarez, who would be calling us soon too, but that she... "Excuse me," I said. "What is A.I. DuPont?" "The school your daughter will be going to." "She's supposed to go to the Evers School." "Does she have an IEP?" "A what?" "An individualized education plan. She needs one before she can be placed in a school like Evers. So first she'll go to A.I. DuPont, where she'll be put into an ELL program." "A what?" "English language learners." "Or does she already know English?" "No." "So we need to get her in that program to start. While she's there, they'll evaluate her to see if she's eligible for special education services." "Eligible? But we have a letter from the doctor. We came all the way here so she could go to Evers." "If they determine that she needs to be at Evers, that's where she'll go. Just not right away. They have to do an evaluation first." Disappointment gathered around me like storm clouds. "How long will it take?" I asked. "It usually takes 1 to 2 months." 2 months? I said. "We'll try to get her situated as quickly as we can," Phyllis said. "I promise." And what else could I do but to say okay and wait? Again. Arturo wasn't happy. Neither of us was, but he was an optimist, and at least, he said, we were one step closer. At least, he said with his hands on my shoulders. The process was underway. So on Maribel's first day of school in the United States, Arturo and I woke up early, filled with impossible expectation, and roused Maribel, watching her push her hair off her face. Arturo said, "Today's the day, hija. You're starting school." He had switched shifts at work to be able to stay home for the big send-off. "What school?" she asked. "A new school. Here in Delaware." "You didn't tell me." "Yes, we did." "Where is my old school?" "Your old school is in Pátzcuaro." "I want to go there." Arturo shot me a pained look. "You're going to this new school now," I said. Where? It's here in Delaware. What is? Your new school, hija. She stared at us, and I waited for some sign either that she had absorbed the information or that she was still confused. It was impossible to tell. Her expression never gave anything away more. Come on, I said, trying to mask my impatience. The bus will be here soon. You need to get up and get dressed. Maribel rose to her feet like a filly finding her legs and stretched. She chose a sweater and jeans from the piles of clothes I had folded and placed on the floor along the wall. I can wear this, she said, holding up the top. You can wear whatever you want, Arturo said. She slid the jeans up her legs, and when they were over her hips, I raised the zipper and snapped the button for her. She wrestled herself into the sweatshirt after that, pulling it on backwards, and though usually neither Arturo nor I would have pointed it out, we tried to make her feel capable when we could. I wanted her to look nice on her first day, so I started pulling her arms through the sleeves to turn it around. What are you doing? She asked. I'm fixing your shirt. I liked it how it was, she said, but it was backwards. I liked it how it was. So I left it alone. I didn't comb her hair either, because any time I tried to, she complained that it hurt and that it pulled at the scar across her scalp. When Maribel was little, she used to get up early in the morning so I could plait her hair into 2 long braids down her back. She inspected them when I was finished, and if the braids weren't tight enough, she would undo them and make me start again. So stubborn, so sure of what she wanted. One thing that hadn't changed. We ate eggs at the kitchen, and when it was time to go, I handed Maribel a backpack, the same one she used in Mexico, that I had packed with a pencil, her green notebook, a ruler that was part of a sewing kit my mother had given me for my quinceañera, a small wooden box filled with medicine tablets, a note for the nurse, and a tag with her name, address, and phone number written on it. Are you ready? I asked. For what? Maribel, you're starting school today, remember? What school? She stared at us with those wide, beautiful eyes, the way she used to stare at us when she was a baby. It had taken us so long to have her, so many years of trying and failing, so many doctors, so many prayers. But then I had gotten pregnant, at least a miracle de Dios. And after she had arrived, our everything. It's a new school, Arturo said. I'll think you'll like it there. Maribel studied his face. Arturo and I waited. So much of our life with her now was about waiting, something I wasn't very good at. Okay, she said. There was no rhyme or reason to it. Sin pies ni cabeza. She resisted. She was confused, and then suddenly, something would snap back into place, and she was compliant, agreeable. Even a year after the accident, I was still unable to discern the pattern. It was humid when we walked outside. The 3 of us stood in the weedy grass along the edge of the parking lot until a long yellow bus dragged itself up from the street. It stopped in front of us and the door folded open. The driver, a woman wearing a baseball cap, waved and yelled hello. That much I understood. But while she kept talking, I got lost. Arturo looked at me as if to ask whether I knew what she was saying. I shook my head and thought, this is how it is for us here. This is how it will be. We simply had to trust that the bus driver would deliver Maribel safely to school, and that her teacher would make sure she was in the right classroom, and that all day long, people would take care of her the way she needed to be cared for. We had to push past trepidation and believe by sending her off we were doing the right thing. What other choice did we have? Standing next to each other, Arturo and I watched as Maribel climbed aboard the bus. Through the windows, I saw her sit in a seat near the front and push her sunglasses up. We had been planning our life here for so long, filling up papers, hoping, praying, waiting. We had all of our dreams pinned on this place, but the pin was thin and delicate. and it was too soon to tell whether it was stronger than it looked or whether in the end it wasn't going to hold much of anything at all. As if he had read my mind, Arturo said, "She'll be fine." But I couldn't tell if he was only trying to convince himself to say that it was true. "Say it again," I said. "She'll be fine." And because I wanted to believe him, because I wanted more than anything for her to be fine, and eventually better than fine, for her to transform again into the girl she used to be, for this past year to have been nothing but a strange, cruel detour that we can move beyond and never venture down again. I nodded and watched the bus heave away. Arturo left for work not long after. He had his own bus to take, 3 of them, actually, all the way to the mushroom farm, which meant that I was alone in the apartment for the first time since we had arrived. I wasn't used to being alone, here or anywhere. The silence felt like an invasion. Usually in Pátzcuaro, someone, either my mother or one of my friends, stopped by in the morning. I would make café con leche, and we would talk, sometimes only for a few minutes, sometimes for hours. And even on the days when no one came over, through the open windows of our house, I could hear the noise of our neighbors. A Juanes sung from a nearby radio, a barking dog, the dull banging of a hammer, a ripple of voices, the hush of the breeze. Here, it was as if I was sealed into a noiseless box. And even when I opened the window, all I could hear was the rhythmic whisper of cars driving on the nearby road. I turned on the television for company and studied people's mouths as they spoke in English, trying my best to replicate the sounds, even though I had no idea what they were saying, and they spoke so fast. I wasn't sure if I was mouthing individual words or bunches of them strung together like grapes. After a while, I turned the television off and wandered into the kitchen. I pulled out my comal and thought, maybe I'll make something to remind me of home. But I didn't have any of the ingredients I needed, so I just stood there staring at the flat cast iron pan, feeling homesickness charge at me like a roaring wave, filling my nostrils and ears, threatening to knock me down. I took a deep breath. I would do something else then. I would go out. This was my life now, I told myself, and I was going to have to figure out how to spend my days. I had to learn how to outrun the wave, or else I had to learn how to stand far enough inland that it would never approach me in the first place. I showered and dressed, parted my hair down the center, and combed it back into a low ponytail. I dabbed candelilla wax on my lips from the small tin pot I brought with us. I inspected myself in the mirror, pinching my cheeks to flush them and baring my teeth to make sure they were clean. Then I picked up my purse and headed toward the door. We needed more food, but the only place I knew where to get any was the gas station. And I didn't want to go there again, so I stood outside on the balcony, my hands around the metal railing, and tried to think of something else. I looked at the clear sky and listened to the low roar of cars and semi-trucks headed to places I didn't know, driven by people I had never seen. I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face. It's the same sun that shone at us at home, I told myself. The same sun. Then, from below, I heard the rickety sound of wheels against the pavement. When I opened my eyes and looked down, I saw the boy from the gas station riding a skateboard, pushing himself up the slight incline to our parking lot where the gravel changed to asphalt. As quickly and quietly as I could, I slipped back into the apartment. What was he doing here? I snuck over to the front window to watch him. He stopped in the middle of the lot and stomped his foot against the tail of the board, flipping it up into his hand. He stood like that, calmly, and stared at our apartment door. Had he seen me? Had he recognized me? Had he come here because he was looking for us? But how had he known where he lived? Had he followed us that day after the gas station? I was breathing fast. Calm down, Alma, I tell myself. Maybe it was only a coincidence. Maybe it's not even the same boy. But when I crawled around the side of the window against to peer at him, I was sure. I could see the tattoo, the navy blue ink of it, winding up his neck. He didn't move for at least 5 minutes. I kept expecting him to turn around, to look at the other apartment, but he only stood with his hand gripping on the top of his skateboard and stared at our door, as if he were waiting for us. For Maribel. At last he spit on the ground and dropped the skateboard with a clatter. He turned around and pushed off, jumping the curb at the edge of the lot and gliding toward the gravel. I took a deep breath. What else had that been about? Was it only that he liked Maribel, or was there something else? When I was sure he was gone, I stepped back outside. At the end of the balcony, a man was standing with his arms crossed, looking grimly at the parking lot. As soon as he saw me, he raised his hand above his head and waved. I nodded, and he walked toward me. I was just coming to find you, he said. I'm the landlord, Fito Angelino, at your service. I have your mailbox key. He pulled a small brass key out of the chest pocket of his shirt and handed it to me. Thank you, I said quietly, dropping into my purse. Are you okay? Fito asked. He was slender and sinewy with a pointy gray goatee. Yes, I said. I thought I saw someone. You mean that boy on his skateboard just now? Fito shook his head. That's just a local troublemaker. Un alboratore. He's always hanging around by the Shell station, the 7-Eleven too. He lives in Capitol Oaks down the road. Fito looked over his shoulder in the direction the boy had gone. I don't know what he was doing here. When Fito turned back to me, he said brightly, but don't worry, senora. He's nothing to worry about. I nodded slowly, wanting to believe him. You're going somewhere? Fito asked. I don't know, I said. You're coming from somewhere then? No. I see. You're confused. Fito chuckled. Fortunately for you, this is not a confusing area. You have Main Street and all the university students. You have Hockessin with all the gringos. Downtown Wilmington is where most of the blacks live, and Greenville is where all the rich white people stay. Elsmere and Newport are for the lower class. It's all very simple. And here? I asked. Here is us. Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Colombia, Mexico, Panama, and Paraguay. We have it all. All in this building? You'll fit right in, Fito said. He was jumpy and quick, all sharp angles and sudden movements. I didn't know what to make of him, but there was a certain comfort that came with hearing someone speak Spanish, to understand and to be understood, and not have to wonder what I was missing. And don't give a second thought about that boy, he went on. It's safe here. Very safe. I realized that Fito was concerned that he scared me away, and if he had, he would lose out on the rent he would be getting from us. Nothing to worry about, he said again. Yes? Nothing to worry about, I said, testing the words on my tongue to see if they felt true.